Thank you. I'm here to talk about something impossible. But I want to start by talking about this lovely, I mean the design stated, but this lovely application I built with a team of mine several years ago. It was like Zillow for commercial real estate. It had geospatial search, and you could do things in categories there. You could zoom in, and at its highest point, I think we were doing 750,000 monthly uniques. Search response times sub 10 milliseconds for geospatial search, arbitrary polygon search. It was great. And what made it even better is that it was largely a serverless architecture. And it was really cool. We used, at the time, we used Firebase, Algolia. These are great services. If you don't know what they are, they're worth looking up. And it was wonderful to have 95% of all of the team's effort and time building front-end user interactions, not getting stuck on any sort of back-end type work because largely that was being outsourced to these managed service providers. And then we were acquired. And we were acquired by a company that decided to make me the CIO of the entire company and its engineering team, which was nearing 100 other engineers at the time. And I thought, this is going to be great. We've got this really great example of how we're very customer-centric. Everyone's really doing, really focusing on delivering value to the customers, and we're not spending our time, debugging CI/CD or standing up machines or anything like that. And the organization we were joining was still on-prem, .NET, SQL Server. And I thought, this will be a really good thing to sort of show some of the people on the team, at least, like this is the great sort of benefits that we can have and the way we can be more customer-centric. And boy, was I naive and arrogant, because 18 months later, this was the infrastructure of the application I had built. And in fact, instead of they just wholesale, and it's a very long story, and I won't go into all of it, but essentially what happened is there was no more front-end customer development, no more delivery of value to customer, no more customer interviews. There was only, oh my goodness, this needs to be SQL Server and IIS and .NET, and we can't work with it otherwise. And so that's why I'm going to talk to you about how to fold a fitted sheet. So I have a couple fitted sheets here. This is such a find. This is a vintage 1983 original Rainbow Bright fitted sheet. It still, I got it from eBay. It still smells like a perfume, some sort of very strong laundry detergent smell. But at any rate, please follow me on Twitter. I have other talks, not about fitted sheets, on my website. So I want to start with some bedsheet trivia, which I know you guys were ready for this, right? Can you tell me, does anyone know when the fitted sheet was invented? Any idea? No? Any guesses? Yeah, 59 is when the patent is from Miss Bertha Berman, one of actually the many African-American women inventors of the 20th century who patented great things. So she sort of envisioned this. It was more complicated than they are today. But yeah, that's it. And does anybody know why hotels don't have fitted sheets? Laundry is good. It's actually a whole host of it. It's largely cost. Well, we know a job you guys wouldn't be able to do then. So the elastic breaks, right? So they're not as hardy, they're more expensive. There is like a supply chain issue. And it actually turns out when you're folding a bed and when you do it as a job, it's a lot easier to do it without a fitted sheet. One of the real benefits of fitted sheets, if you think about it, is being able to put a bottom sheet on a bed when you can't reach like the corner because it's jammed against the wall. And that's not the case in hotels, right? Hotels have the bed sort of nicely accessible and you can put it in. So it's sort of useful to think about the role of fitted sheets. And by the way, I feel like this could also be called like metaphor fest, right? Like every talk is like a different metaphor on software development or IT, right? So this is clearly what I'm doing, or maybe it's just about fitted sheets and then we'll end. So this did start with this quote from Steve. And this is a challenge. So I think with any good problem, it's helpful to understand the problem, right? So why is folding a fitted sheet hard? And I think probably it's better to ask the question, why is folding a flat sheet so easy? And it's because it's just folding rectangles. Like, it's the simplest folding thing you can do. You don't even have to pick like what order or orientation. You have to sort of go, one side then the other side. Otherwise, you have something long and thin. But other than that, it's a pretty simple thing. When you have a fitted sheet, you have introduced pockets, right? So you have pockets and you're folding rectangles, right? But the key with many things, right, is to turn one problem into a problem that we know. And so largely the problem of solving fitted sheets is the problem of dealing with the pockets so that you can then fold rectangles, right? So in order to understand how to fold a fitted sheet, it makes sense to start with a smaller model, right? So folding a king sheet, don't start with king fitted sheets. Like, that is if you don't know how to fold a fitted sheet, you're definitely not going to fold a king fitted sheet. You need to start with a twin. And the reason why you can start with a twin and maybe not everyone, but you can actually generally reach across, the whole length of a, maybe I can't do it. You can generally hold across the whole side of it, right? And if your wingspan isn't this far, you can even sort of, get close to it. But it's helpful to think about how might we eliminate the pockets so that we can now just fold rectangles, right? And it turns out with a twin, it's much easier than with a king. And the easiest way to eliminate the pockets is to collapse them on each other. And so you can do this with a twin sheet by simply putting one hand in each of the pockets, and you just fold that over. That's it, right? I've now taken two pockets down to one, and I can go to the other pocket over here, and I can do the same thing. And again, I'm just folding pockets into each other. And I can hold up sort of my hands, right? And I've got, the pockets are collapsing each other. And at this point in time, I'm really close to folding rectangles. So I can just bring my two hands together, right? And I can pull them out. And I largely have a folding rectangles problem. And I don't need, now if I can put this down on a flat surface, this gets even easier. Right? But even just like this, I'm really in rectangle land here. I can do it a couple different ways, right? And there's another really key benefit to, and that really wasn't done all that well, but you can see we're in sort of roughly folded land here, right? And so another tip, by the way, on bed sheet folding is when you fold your fitted sheet, you can fold your flat sheet on it, and then you can stick them both in the pillowcase. And then it doesn't matter how ugly your fitted sheet folding job is, because it's all in pillowcases stacked into your linen closet. So the twin is the easy part, right? And it's useful to understand that just like a fitted sheet is not like a flat sheet, a king fitted sheet is not like a twin fitted sheet. And so that's why I've also brought a king fitted sheet. Sadly, the auction for the Budweiser fitted sheet on eBay reached $45, which was outside of my budget. But I found this one that actually came with like a printed sheet of provenance from it. It's also from the 80s, I guess is, anyway. There are collectors of fitted sheets out there. And by the way, they don't sell the flat sheets with them either, so I guess you don't need a flat sheet on top of a fitted sheet. At any rate, the strategy with folding the king fitted sheet is that you're, especially if you're going to do it standing up. I like to fold laundry standing up. I like to stand. watch baseball games and fold laundry. And I don't like to sort of put it on the ground and lay it out. So you'll read some advice on folding fitted sheets that involves putting it on the ground. And that's ridiculous. You should be able to stand and fold your fitted sheets. So in this case, we're going to have to actually collapse everything onto one pocket. And this is really where this goes to hell, right? When you watch one of these videos of people folding fitted sheets, one of the problems you have is you'll kind of forget the orientation of what's going on with your king sheet, and you'll be sort of, okay, I'm going to put a pocket on a pocket, and you'll go grab another one, and it'll all be like twisted to hell down in the bottom. So the main important part of folding the king fitted sheet is that when you go find the pocket, you have to make sure that you're putting it on in the correct orientation and not like this way, which is going to twist everything all to hell. And so that's really what you got to do. And the fourth one tends to be the most tricky one. Again, you have to think about, what's the orientation. And you have to just not worry about anything other than, am I folding the pockets over each other so it's not all twisted? And then you can sort of look at what kind of garbage you have down below here and sort of see you need to be able to find all of the various pieces of it. We've got something lost down in there. There we go. And obviously, this didn't take too long to fold everything over on the pocket, so if you find you've got some sort of mess in the middle, you can just sort of toss it and do it again. But at any rate, we shake these out. That's why my wife really enjoys that I do this, so she hands me all the fitted sheets to fold. And so we have a bit of a challenge with this sheet, right, which is that we have a triangle. And this is the reality of the king sheet. It doesn't give you a really nice thing to do if you're folding it standing up. So you have to either kind of fold it like a flag or otherwise kind of get it somewhere. And again, we're just trying to fit it in a pillowcase, guys. We're not going to sell this on eBay. I haven't done a great job with that one. But again, I get something that's sort of halfway decent. It's not a pile of garbage. And I can put it in a pillowcase and it'll look good. Now my time's up. So I want to talk about what this has to do with anything and with commercial search. The way I think about it is I'll talk a little bit about this. I've gone into several different team situations where I've ended up being the CIO or the CTO, brought into new teams, and been asked to, hey, let's go take what's happening in this organization and let's make it better. Let's make it more aligned with the business, more aligned with what the organization is trying to do. And I now think today of this organization as this process is very much like I've got pockets and I've got folding rectangles, and there's a level to which the pockets are, you have to come to the team, right? In the same way, if you know how to fold a flat sheet, you fold a flat sheet. When you need to fold a fitted sheet, you need to come to the fitted sheet. You need to understand how the fitted sheet is different from the flat sheet. It's the pockets. And you need to just spend enough time with them. And in the same way, the twin sheet is different from the king sheet. There's a level of just needing to understand what's going on. And the central challenge that I ran into with commercial search in the pockets was I didn't go to the organization and I didn't spend enough time with the org chart to think, wow, there are 3 people in this company with the title SQL Server DBA. I bet if I bring an application to this organization that doesn't use SQL Server, they're going to see it as an existential threat. And they did. By the way, never hire someone into a job that has the name of a vendor's product in the job title, guys. You will never get rid of that technology as long as that person works there. And similarly, to me, it was a very easy and obvious to me why talking about how we could have everybody aligned and thinking about user value was meaningful to the leadership. But if you're a systems administrator and you don't view your job at all as being in any way connected with customers, that just sounds like you're going to lose your job. And so, it was a big problem, and ultimately you can see, in the culture eating strategy for breakfast, like the culture just ate the strategy, and what I think was a much better architecture and lower cost of ownership and all sorts of things like that. But but I do learn, although slowly and sometimes needing repeated lessons. And so I was, shortly thereafter, I was the interim CTO of another company of about the same size engineering team. And thankfully, I wasn't going in there with a product I had written that was an existential threat to the people in the organization. And what I was able to do was to meet with those teams, and I was able to really spend time understanding why they were frustrated and why they were angry. And I mean, and this is to some extent common sense, but I mean, I made this mistake many times. I've seen many people make this mistake. And it was things like, you know, the engineering team liked having all of their stories on whiteboards in the rooms that they were in, right? But like the business leaders didn't. You know, and then we had a million lines of PHP that had inline styles and had, you know, customer-specific branch. I mean, this is like sort of as bad as it gets in terms of technical debt, I think. And in this, but of course the business was very concerned about, well, every time we say how much time do you need, it's like we need like 8 years to rewrite this from scratch. And so there was simply the act of getting comfortable with and getting aligned with the team, and then getting everyone on the same page that what we needed to do was to fold rectangles, right? Like our goal should be, let's go have automated tests. Let's go, you know, have centralized tickets. Like this is the right way to do it. Getting everyone in alignment with that path was very meaningful. And then really the key strategy, the key benefits that I think I added to this was essentially spending a lot of time trying to figure out how do you do this in an iterative way so that everybody gains trust with each other again. Because certainly one thing that was true in all of these situations I was brought into is there was massive distrust between, I mean, the reason why I was there was not because it was a really happy organization where everyone was working really well and, you know, they had no problems. It was like, you know, the business distrusted the people in the technology, and technology distrusted each other, and product distrusted everyone else. And so the key benefits were, what were the tactics that we were able to use to get everyone in alignment so that we felt like, okay, now we're folding rectangles, or lots of other metaphors for this, right? Like blocking and tackling, et cetera. And so just very briefly, a couple of these tactics. So, and I've now done this so many times with legacy code bases that have no automated testing. The single best strategy that I've come up with to bring automated testing into code bases that don't have it are TDD on regressions. Because everyone will agree that this is acceptable, which is essentially, look, we're going to take longer to fix regressions, but we're going to write tests that fail to replicate the regression, and then we're going to fix it, and that's going to be into a test suite. And when you announce that, even if you take 3 weeks to just get a testing framework in place that works, this is successful, and then you have one developer can do it, and then you have two, then you have three, and it spreads. And I've now done this in 3 different places, and in each case, after more than a year, there is, by the way, these organizations don't all turn to TDD organizations. None of them do. I mean, I don't know many true TDD organizations, but they all turn into organizations that have reasonable test coverage and understand the value of automated testing, which is the major win. They're getting 80% of the value there. But I think it's also useful, though, to talk about another angle on this problem of folding rectangles in pockets, which is sometimes coming to the team, coming to the pockets, understanding the pockets, empathizing with the pockets, doesn't fix the problem because they don't want to fold rectangles. And so, and I think Adrian brought this up a little bit yesterday. I mean, I'm amazed at all the things that developers want to write. I love, there's a good image, which I wasn't able to find again, but it's got a little clippy from Microsoft, and it says, "It looks like you're writing a framework. Would you like to find another job?" Every time, I mean, I send that to developers regularly because developers just want to write frameworks from scratch. And so recently, I was brought in to an organization that had hired a new CTO that had working but old legacy code, had a decent amount of Perl in there, which the new CTO and the development staff really didn't like. I really think Perl's okay, you know, if you get a little bit, but it's fine. It was working code, but they decided they needed to redo it. And so their view and getting in the trenches with them was, we need to rebuild all this stuff because it's just too nasty and we can't deal with it. But the challenge was 9 months later, nothing had been rewritten and nothing had been done that was customer facing or that advanced any of the business's strategic goals. There had just been a lot of vendors had marched in and out of the doors, had given a lot of proposals, and no one had actually done anything. And in that case, you really have to have the conversation, which is like, we fold rectangles here, like that's our job, and like we're comfortable to come to you, we're comfortable to make sure that this is gonna work, but if at the end of the day you don't agree you should be folding rectangles like pretty soon, then this is not a good fit. And in fact, that was the end result of that particular conversation. We brought in another team that understood that this was the goal of the organization, and within a month, things are sort of back on track and worthwhile. You know, so first of all, you should follow me on Twitter. I need more followers. I'm well behind most of the speakers at this event. I talk about more things than folding fitted sheets, and have some good videos here. But I hope that even if the metaphor is bad, even if what I've given is very commonsensical advice that you already knew, that I hope that there are some of you now who know how to fold a fitted sheet. And I'm happy for the remaining period of time here, if anyone would like to practice. We have these 2 great fitted sheets here. But anyway, that's what I got for you. Thank you very much.